want to talk to you today about a band that you might think you don't know, especially if you're younger. But especially if you're younger, I'm willing to bet you might be wrong about that. You just don't realize it. Have you ever listened to a songwriter by the name of Check's Notes, Taylor Swift? If you have, chances are you've heard her 2022 album Midnights, right? Which has a song on it called The Great War. And at one point in that song, Taylor sings, "All that bloodshed, crimson, clover. That sweet dream was over. All that bloodshed, crimson, clover. The bombs were close and my hand was the one you reached for. And we will never go back to that bloodshed, crimson, clover. The worst was over." Pay attention to that language, because a few years before then, Lana Del Rey released her masterpiece in 2019, Norman effing Rockwell. And on that album is a song called Venice Bitch, part of which goes like this. Back in the garden, we're getting high now because we're older. Me, myself, I like diamonds. My baby, crimson and clover. Sound familiar? And then she goes on towards the end of the song to over and over again say, crimson and clover, honey, crimson and clover, honey, crimson and clover, honey. And then she moves to just saying over and over, honey, over and over, honey. And finally, just over and over. What's happening with these songs is that these are two of the most celebrated artists of our day, imploring you to go back and check out one of the most celebrated artists of yesterday. That songwriter is a now 77-year-old man named Tommy James, who with his band Tommy James and the Shondells sold more than 100 million records, had 23 gold records, 9 platinum albums, and 32 Billboard Hot 100 chart hits. I have spoken on this channel before about the extent to which I believe Lana Del Rey influenced Taylor Swift's 2022 album, Midnights. You can check out my Lana Del Rey videos that I recorded a while back here at The Curious Listener for that discussion. That record, Midnights, is darker and more foreboding and much more self-deprecating than, in my view, any other prior Taylor Swift album. It certainly drops many more F-bombs than any prior Taylor Swift album. And these are all straight out of the Lana Del Rey songwriting playbook, right? And indeed, as you probably know, that record includes a beautiful duet between Taylor and Lana Del Rey called Snow on the Beach. And they're apparent besties. I mean, they were seen hanging out together at last year's Super Bowl. In addition to having collaborated creatively, Lana Del Rey has spoken publicly about her friendship with Taylor Swift. There seems to be a closeness there that informed, maybe to a large extent, the aesthetic of that 2022 album by Taylor Swift, Midnights. And I say this because it appears that Lana Del Rey has taken it upon herself to do what she can to make sure this man's music does not go forgotten. This is hardly surprising from Lana. If you know anything about Lana's music, you know that she prodigiously alludes to the songwriters of yesteryear, okay, in her music, constantly, alluding back to songs, artists, lyrics from decades ago. But she's not the only one. Tommy James's music has also been covered by Prince, who covered Crimson and Clover, Bruce Springsteen, who covered Mony, R.E.M., who covered Draggin the Line, my favorite Tommy James song. Dolly Parton also covered Crimson and Clover. Carlos Santana covered another Tommy James great called Crystal Blue Persuasion. Most famously, though, three of the biggest stars of the 1980s produced the best-known covers of Tommy James's music. Those include Billy Idol covering Mony, Tiffany, remember her, covering I Think We're Alone Now, and Joan Jett doing a cover of Crimson and Clover. These are all big hits back in the 80s for Tommy James, okay? But that still is not all, because much more recently, we're seeing younger bands embrace Tommy James's music. Back in 2020, there's this band called the Wild Reeds who do a gorgeous little cover of another great Tommy James song called I Think We're Alone Now, the one that Tiffany covered. I will link to all of these covers in the description of this video. I want you to hear all of it. That's why I'm doing this video, okay? Listen, the point here is it takes decades or more for an artist's true legacy to come into focus. This is something that takes time, a lot of time. We do not know which of today's artists are going to be listened to 100 years from now. We don't. I don't care how big Taylor is, for that matter, Lana Del Rey. We don't know. There most likely are artists at work today who are getting hardly any notice, who 100 years from now might be big time. It certainly would not be the first time that has happened in music. It won't be the last. I can virtually guarantee you that that will be the case. We just don't know. Okay. What we do know, however, is that Tommy James released his debut record 59 years ago in 1966. Okay. And still today, we have younger artists covering songs like I Think We're Alone Now. We have huge artists of our day today paying their homage to Tommy James with lyrics like those two songs, Taylor Swift's The Great War from 2022, Lana Del Rey's Venice Bitch from 2019, paying their homage to Tommy James by weaving Crimson and Clover lyrics into their own songs. This is how we start to see Tommy James's legacy come into focus. This is how the timeless structure and melodies of these songs start to become apparent. These songs are standing the test of time. And it is my deep hope that they continue to do so and never go forgotten. And that's why I wanted to make this video. I have deeply adored the music of Tommy James since I was a kid, hooked on KFRC FM, a radio station out in San Francisco back in the early 90s, which at that time had just transitioned to an oldies format, an all oldies format. And when I was hearing these songs blast out of the radio back then, man, hearing this stuff for the first time when I was like 11 years old, there was a plaintiveness to songs like Crimson and Clover that shook me, even as a little kid. And these songs like Crimson and Clover hit me in the same place that other ballads of his day hit me. Like I think of Time of the Season by the Zombies, Happy Together by the Turtles, Love Is All Around by the Trogs, the Byrds cover of Bob Dylan's Tambourine Man. All of these songs felt to me at once charming and haunting, and to this day feel that way to me. There was an ethereal depth and mystery to these ballads that I don't think can be approximated, certainly not rivaled. Now imagine your favorite artist, and Tommy James certainly is one of mine, taking it upon him or herself at a show to descend into the audience and mingle face to face with the crowd. Okay, when I saw Tommy James live this past Thursday, as I'm speaking to you, that was February 27th, 2025. This was the first time in my life I got to see Tommy James live. I could not believe this was happening. I could not believe I was there listening to this man with a kick-ass banging band behind him, by the way, performing Crimson and Clover live for me. I couldn't believe that this was happening. I could not believe my luck. And you could certainly understand that even less did I believe the opportunity I got to shake this man's hand personally as I did at this show the other night. This is, again, why I wanted to make this video today. I got to shake his hand, and I held that handshake for a couple seconds. I leaned into Tommy James's ear, and I said, Tommy, you're a genius. Thank you for your music. And this 77-year-old man snapped his glance back toward me in that moment, looked me in the eyes, and with an expression of the utmost seriousness in his face said to me, God bless you. There was such a sincerity and a genuine gratitude to his body language and facial expression as he said this to me in that moment, that it seemed to me, then as it does now as I look back on that moment, that perhaps Tommy is, at this point, late stage in his career, 77 years old. And by the way, much was made of how Robert Smith sounded when I saw him on that Cure tour in the summer of 2023 at age 65, how his voice sounded miraculous. Guess what? Let's hear him try that at age 77, because Tommy James sounds incredible at his age. He virtually sounds the way he did on that studio take of Crimson and Clover. You think that's crazy? Check him out for yourself, man. He's got about a dozen dates coming up. Go see him. And get a load of that voice at age 77. I could not believe my ears. And at this late stage in his career, in that moment when I had this brief exchange with Tommy, it seemed to me that he is, in a very real, conscious way, aware of the fact that his time to burnish his own legacy is running short, and that it's up to people like us in younger generations to quote the title of a beautiful Latter-day song of his from 2006's Hold the Fire, to indeed hold the fire for him. Okay? If you're a younger viewer of this channel who isn't familiar with Tommy James's music, here's what I suggest. Take Lana Del Rey, take Taylor Swift up on their suggestion to catch up with this amazing song catalog. Go ahead and start with Crimson and Clover and see how that hits you. If it finds its way into your mind the way it did with me so many years ago, check out I Think We're Alone Now. Cue up Draggin the Line. Pull up Crystal Blue Persuasion or Sweet Cherry Wine on Spotify and see what you think. Get a feel for the mastery with which those melodies were crafted, the mastery with which those lyrics were written. There's a reason why the greatest artists of today are pointing back at Tommy James, hoping that you will follow their direction. And I think you'll be glad that you did if you do exactly as they hope you do. Go back and visit the music of Tommy James. See what you think. He deserves it. He has earned it. We're his only chance to keep his legacy alive as he enters the absolute twilight of his career. And again, I think you'll be grateful for the experience that his music will give you if you go back and take a shot at the music of this guy that he released 50 and 60 years ago. It lit the world on fire back then, the way Lana and Taylor's music lights the world on fire today. I think it'll light you up too.